Prime Minister then joined Trump at a rally aboard the USS Washington, where she got to hear him just rambling to our troops on a range of subjects, including magnets. He hates magnets. He hates magnets, windmills, and sharks. But he loves steam.
I want to know, catapults, which is better, the electric or the steam? They had steam, which works so beautifully. Steam, they said they could fix it with a hammer and a blowtorch. I love the sight of that beautiful steam.
President Maybelline was making the rounds, attempting to defend his boss and the chairman of the FCC with a new fairy tale, even a 5-year-old.
Two things. First of all, I'd like them to tell me exactly what Brendan Carr did to have Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air, because number one, he is currently on the air, and to the extent that he isn't in certain stations, it's because he's not funny, because
Trump's America has officially entered its peak absurdity arc. The kind where the plot twists are so unhinged, even the writers are begging for a reboot. And right in the middle stands J.D. Vance, a guy who once sold soulful I Escaped the Rust Belt memoirs and is now Trump's most eager hype man, smiling through every disaster like he's auditioning for the worst buddy comedy ever filmed. Kimmel didn't just roast these two, he dismantled them with the precision of someone who's been holding in laughter for 8 years and finally let it explode.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Ankles was back home at the White House tonight, handing out candy to children. One of the kids was dressed as, you can see him here on the right side, as a light-up marshmallow. And watch this, because this is something Trump has done in the past. Instead of putting candy in the bag, he puts it on. J.D. Vance is crushing it when it comes to policy.
How will we lower the cost of daycare? It's such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more.
Jimmy Kimmel hilarious reaction on J.D. Vance's daycare solution. His plan to lower costs is to guilt-trip grandma into free labor.
Maybe there's
Kimmel didn't need a monologue. He needed a mop. Trump's marathon of nonsense spilled so fast that the mess beat the campaign slogans to the finish line. This isn't a partnership. It's a blooper reel that refuses to roll credits. Trump talks, Vance nods, America cringes. And somewhere in the distance, a bald eagle files for asylum.
And when we run out of steam, we're going to oxen, big teams of beautiful oxen. He loves steam. And then he closed things out as only Donald Trump can.
J.D. Vance has become the political equivalent of an old bumper sticker left on too long, faded, peeling, and strangely proud to still be stuck to something going downhill. His loyalty to Trump isn't strategy, it's worship. He acts like standing next to chaos will make him look like stability. But instead of rising, he's sinking, smiling the whole way down like a Titanic passenger insisting it's a cruise.
I have some good news for you, J-Dog. We're back on all the stations. Prison in America. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your bullshit. Go on.
There's something else that's important here, Laura, which is that these broadcast companies, ABC, NBC, CBS, they enjoy the public airwaves because they serve.
Kimmel caught it instantly. He didn't just notice the hypocrisy, he spotlighted it like a late-night infomercial. In Trump's orbit, integrity is the first thing tossed out, with coherence not far behind. J.D. Vance's transformation from critic to cheerleader wasn't evolution, it was the exorcism of self-respect. He traded his spine for a spotlight, conviction for convenience, and won applause from a crowd that cheers anything wearing a red tie.
We used to send the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on these USO tours, and now we have this. Meanwhile, while Trump's slurping noodles in Japan were on day 28 of his big, beautiful government shutdown, air traffic controllers missed their first paycheck today. So if you are visiting us from out of town, you live here now.
Trump, meanwhile, is doing what he does best, performing the presidency like it's community theater. Every appearance is a production, every speech a one-man show nobody bought tickets for. The difference now is he has J.D. Vance clapping off beat beside him, repeating the chorus even after the music stops. It's the political version of karaoke gone wrong, except the mic never cuts out and the audience can't leave.
You know, if you go to a Jimmy Kimmel live viewing, you have to really be a humorless scold.
Did you hear what he just called you? He called you humorless scolds. What is wrong with you people? Are you trying to make JD's mascara run? What's going? A humorless scold. Who talketh like that?
Kimmel's takedown wasn't just funny, it was forensic. He dissected the illusion that Trump's chaos has purpose, or that JD's devotion has depth. He reminded everyone that the only consistent thing about this duo is their inconsistency. One day it's law and order, the next day it's whatever helps the poll numbers. This isn't leadership, it's an endless open mic night at democracy's expense. JD tries to sound profound, but it's like watching a student recite a book report he never read. Meanwhile, Trump still gets top billing.
Things were a little bit different this year because of the construction that's going on at the White House. They had to improvise a bit. They had to move around, and they want to get that ballroom finished. So they just went right ahead with the demolition while the trick-or-treating was happening. The kids had fun, though. The Department of Agriculture was there, and kids love that. Handing out mini pumpkins, and the U.S. Postal Service was there with a Be Best postcard station. They gave the children Be Best postcards. I didn't know Be Best was...
The hilarious part is that J.D. Vance once pretended to be the reasonable Republican, the bridge between populism and sanity. Now he's burning that bridge and roasting marshmallows over the ashes. Trump doesn't just attract loyalty, he consumes it. Kimmel saw it for what it is, not a movement, but a codependent spectacle of self-preservation. The rallies feel like emotional chaos boot camps, recycled promises, rehearsed outrage, slogans old enough to expire. JD stands there smiling like he has a place in history, but doesn't realize he's the part future textbooks skip.
Everyone needs to just crack open a Bud Light and relax already. Even the vice president took a break from humping his ottoman to complain about not just me, you.
On Jimmy Kimmel's television program and on The Daily Show this week, you have audiences outright cheering, seeing the images of Teslas on fire across the country. And I saw that and I thought, man, that really is a sign of how much the left has conditioned people to think that that's acceptable.
Yeah, though I will say in defense of the American people, Jimmy Kimmel's show is so unfunny and boring and left-wing that it's...
Watching Trump and Vance campaign together feels like seeing a magician and his assistant argue over who gets credit for the rabbit. Trump does the illusion, JD claps first. It's not policy, it's performance art with a soundtrack of applause and confusion. The headlines write the jokes for Kimmel. His roast works because it punches diagonally, straight through the nonsense. Trump turns governing into branding, and JD plays the unpaid intern who mistakes chaos for mentorship.
It was a bigly busy day for the president this morning, or maybe it was last night, I don't know. He was in South Korea meeting with the president of China for trade negotiations, which, according to one expert who was there, went very, very well.
I thought it was a great meeting. I think it was a very friendly meeting. It was a good meeting for two very large, powerful countries. Overall, I guess on the scale of from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12.
Wow. It's even higher.
Every campaign event feels like deja vu in a new t-shirt. The flags wave, the chants repeat, the contradictions multiply. Trump calls it momentum. Kimmel calls it reruns. JD jumps in to defend it, looking like a man who just lost an argument with his own reflection. Kimmel doesn't have to raise his voice. The absurdity handles that. There's always a moment in political downfalls where someone insists, it's fine. J.D. Vance has made that his full-time job.
Bishop of Canterbury? But go on.
There are these judges. Judge Boasberg comes to mind. Lots of judges who are trying to basically say the president can't exercise the powers of the presidency. You're an attorney. How do you assess the legal battles here?
Yeah, I bet all those judges are huge fans of Jimmy Kimmel, by the way. But I think, Vince, that, one, we have an appeals process.
Good one, JD. You sure?
Kimmel tears the illusion apart with surgical calm. No exaggeration, no shouting, just a mirror. And once you look long enough, the reflection stops lying. What's left isn't a movement, it's a rerun dressed as destiny. Every press spectacle is another episode of a show nobody auditioned for. Trump calls it momentum, but it's just motion without direction. Kimmel highlights the absurd rhythm until the comedy sharpens into clarity.
Trump visited several countries in Asia, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea. He avoided Vietnam just for old time's sake. But the big event was his sit-down with Xi. Just before their talk, Trump sent China a message. He announced that he's ordered the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons again. And that's right, if they won't give him the peace prize the regular way, he's going to take it by force. Reporters on Air Force One asked him why he decided to do this and why he decided to do it right before he met with the Chinese. And his answer was basically, I did it because they did it.
With others doing testing, I think it's
In this theater of delusion, truth is treated like a heckler, something to silence, not confront. But Kimmel refuses to play along. He laughs where others flinch, deflating the myth of control with a single punchline. Trump can command a crowd, but not credibility. JD can repeat lines, but not make them meaningful. Every joke becomes an autopsy on a political body drained of sincerity. This isn't leadership, it's choreography disguised as governance.
Speaker Mike Johnson said there's nothing more Trump can do about the shutdown. The guy who's ended 8 wars, a man who has ended wars that never even started, can't do anything about this. Some Republicans are very unhappy with Mike Johnson, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who reportedly lashed out at him on a call with House Republicans. She said her party was letting the country down and demanded to know the Republican plan for health care, which Johnson refused to share because there is no...
Kimmel exposes how Trump's America has turned into a franchise of chaos, where loyalty is measured by how loudly you repeat the absurd and how easily you ignore the obvious. His comedy slices through the fog of blind devotion with precision, because the moment you stop laughing, the danger becomes real. Humor becomes resistance when logic stops working. Kimmel doesn't try to outscream the chaos, he mocks it until it collapses. Trump's presidency is branding disguised as leadership. Every controversy repackaged as courage, every failure reframed as sabotage, every mistake relabeled as destiny. And when everything becomes a spectacle, reality becomes the loudest punchline. In Trump's America, applause replaces accountability, and spin buries truth. Yet humor survives, not to soften the blow, but to sharpen it. Mockery aimed at power isn't cruelty, it's survival.